first thing you want to do when you're assessing an animal is you definitely want to make sure you're at that level, the same level with the animal as well, so the animal feels comfortable. Also, another thing that's really important too is to check with the owner, make sure that it's okay for you to check the animal, and also to make sure that the animal doesn't bite, scratch, kick. You don't know really how the animal will respond to adjustment. So if an animal has a history of doing that, then definitely want to make sure that not only are you protected, the animal's protected, anyone else that's a helper that's helping out with the animal is protected as well. Okay? So that's really, really important anytime that you're kind of assessing an animal. And I'm going to show you kind of some things that you can do on your own to kind of assess an animal, to check their spine, and things that you can check to see if these things are going on with an animal that might need to be assessed chiropractically. So the first thing, when you're looking at the animal, obviously their spine, the vertebrae all just run right through here. Okay. And you can see he's doing really well with touch and everything here. Okay. And so I always start with the lower end of the animal right here with the hips. Okay. And so when you look at the hips, you want to look at the height of one hip versus the other hip. Okay. And typically, a lot of times, one hip can be higher up than the other hip, and if that hip's up higher, it indicates there's more tension into the muscles on that side than the other side. Okay? And animals will typically tend to favor one side versus the other, which is a lot of times typically humans will do that as well. Okay? So with small animals, many times you can pick up the hind legs. We'll try to do that today, and obviously with larger animals, you're just going to kind of feel into those areas. Okay. Good. So it's going to make sure you're down to the animal's level right here. Okay, very well. And you just kind of feel into those hips right there. And many times you can see if an animal feels any kind of tension or pain with that. You can see how they might move their head a little bit. They might change a little bit of their tone or their breathing as you're feeling through that. Very similar to like Reiki or energetic work. You're kind of looking at how the animal is changing your kind of physiological response, like maybe breathing or their emotion or how they're looking. So with the legs, what we do, like this, should be okay. Doing really well. All right. So just like that. Good. So you put the hips like that. So what I'm feeling with them is a little bit of restriction on the right hip through here versus the left. Okay. Now if you look at the hips, right on the right side here, it's a little bit higher than on the left side. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is adjust that right hip in through here. And I'm gonna use the activator to adjust this hip on the right side. So this is another one of the most difficult parts, is just animal positioning on your own, especially the animal's owner is very excited about it, the animal's excited about it, the animal's running around, moving around. The hardest part is to get them just to relax, just like this, so that you can do the adjustment. Okay. So we'll get right back to the hip back here. That's a common, typical response from the animal, is that it's a little bit of a shock for them, the adjustment. And especially like animals that have been abused, or been hurt, they've been hit before. As you do that, they might definitely react and respond a lot differently. Okay. So you can tell he responded really well to the adjustment. Still very, very, very relaxed. Well, and it's not painful. The adjustments don't hurt. Really gently, just kind of going in there and moving the spine, moving the hips. next part we'll do is assess their mid-back through here. Okay. So with the mid-back, what you're going to do, the mid-back's going to go all the way from the forequarters to the hindquarters here. Okay. So one thing you can have a helper do is definitely have them support the lower abdomen like that. So keeping the spine up like that. And you're just going to kind of feel just different areas. What you want to do is take your thumbs, just kind of press into different areas. And I'm going slow right now kind of for demonstration, but you can do it a lot faster as well too for the animal, so that the animal's like uncomfortable with it. And just kind of check in different areas. Look for different areas where there's a little bit more tight, maybe a little more tightness as you push down into the spine. So right here, for example, and you see how the animal responds when you hit certain points that are uncomfortable for them. Probably they might have had a previous trauma or a fall, or they might have been wrestling with another dog and got hurt through those areas. As dogs run a lot, especially those muscles right between their shoulders, right between their hind legs, are those areas where they'll have most of their tension. So what we do is just really just gentle pushing, gentle minus into here. Okay. Good. Alright. Now we're going to check right between the shoulder blades here. So the best way is to come down obviously behind the animal. You don't want to be in front of the animal so that the animal is right there, just in case you do get taken on. So we want to do this feel right between the shoulders.
For the record, if you are watching very, very closely, I'm not showing any excitement, I'm not talking to him, I'm not saying it's okay, I want him to do this on his own. So in order for you to help, the doctor that's performing the
adjustments,
there you go. You want to go ahead and stay calm. Now, like I said, if you were watching carefully, he was pressing his body against mine. My energy is calm, my energy is basically enforcing that everything's all right. So if he doesn't feel me shaking or nervous or any type of negative energy, he himself will stay calm. Now, what I'm trying to make the point is that a while ago he was pressing his body against my chest. And once he felt that everything was fine and everything was feeling the way it was, he actually stepped forward and is now no longer touching me. So if you're watching that, I want you to, if you can, rewind the video, take a look at it again, and you will see what I'm talking about. Where he was pressing against me, everything's fine. He's going on it through his own, and then he went ahead and just stood up, so that way the doctor could actually go and perform it a lot better than it was before.
Okay, good. Right. And then as far as checking the necks on animals, definitely, things like collars. A lot of times animals will pull a lot. There was a case of animals that have jumped over a fence and they've had like a collar or neck on, noose on, and actually been choked to death from that. So a lot of times dogs can have a lot of trauma into their neck, and those types of traumas can cause a lot of things similar to like whiplash in humans, where their vertebrae in their necks are really, really misaligned. So you really want to check the animal really closely. And the same thing, what you're going to do is just kind of palpate up on the top of the neck like this. And then on the sides of the neck, their atlas is the first vertebrae on their neck. It's the biggest vertebrae. So if you feel kind of right behind the ears, right here, you'll feel kind of two little bones right on the outside right there. Kind of the bones are protruding right there. And as you kind of move your fingers up and down, the animal probably feels kind of good, that massage, just like a human kind of moving their arms, moving their hands and fingers up through that area. Okay. So you want to kind of feel for one side of the vertebrae that's a little bit farther out than the other. So the hand is more more out on this right side than on the left. Okay. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you switch little sides of it. Like that, they definitely want to, because you're close by, they don't want to talk to you. Good. The other side. Good. Alright, so let's just recheck that area.
Now, a point that I do want to make out is, if you were watching while he was doing that, before he got in, while he was working in this area, I was actually massaging right here while he was working back there. Now, what he told me right now is that actually really felt good, and why I know that is because when I made him sit down, he was on his hind legs. When he started working with him, he went on his hip. So that right there was letting me know, oh, this feels really good. I'm just going to make myself more comfortable. So that was really good.
So one of the things you really want to check for after your animal gets adjusted, a chiropractic adjustment, is, as we mentioned, really hard to tell, how animals can't talk to us, obviously, in a language that, most humans can understand. But really, I think really kind of physiologically watching for how animals act. If an animal had a tremor, had a spasm, or had some form of tremor or spasm, you'd want to just kind of measure that at home and see if that's changed. Also, really paying attention a lot to your animal's sleeping habits. If they feel more tired, if they feel if they have more energy. I actually adjusted a Chihuahua that had a mid-back, really bad misalignment in their mid-back, and the owner said, well, right after you adjusted him, we took him home and he started running around in the yard, and he never does that with the other animals. And so the neighbors asked, what's going on with Buster? And they're like, well, yeah, he got adjusted. So there are many things that really can happen from an adjustment, not only from a physical pain sense or an alignment standpoint, but also from an emotional level, psychological level for the animal. And animals really respond very, very quickly to chiropractic. A lot of times more quicker than humans respond to chiropractic. Really in one or two adjustments, you should really start noticing some things going on with your animal. As humans, we take on a lot of stresses, a lot of tensions. Animals take that on as well. But animals are definitely a lot more connected to our environment than humans are. So animals have a lot quicker ability to adapt and change to those types of stressors into their environment, and that's very apparent with a lot of times how we find animals in the wild. Animals that have been domesticated but are also then again into the wild, have really incredible abilities to survive in the worst of conditions as well too. So with that, really, the adjustment really helps and assists with the animal, not only from a structural standpoint, but really from a survivability standpoint as well too. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to call my office. My name is Dr. Dan Foss. The phone number is 210-685-1994, and our office is Pura Vida Chiropractic. You can find us on the internet. It's Pura Vida San Antonio, all one word, Pura Vida, VIDA, sanantonio.com.